Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. You know, when I first entered the federal system, I landed in Lompoc back in 2001. At this time, I was about 23 years old, 24. And on the yard, they had Serrenos and Nortenos. You know, they were able to walk on the yard together. And while I was there, you know, I shared with you in a prior video, the Nortenos had taken off on the Border Brothers. You know, sliced them up, stabbed them up with screwdrivers, cut their face with box cutters. It was an organized hit because they had a couple of Border Brothers that jumped a dude named Manny in his shoe in Lompoc. So he sent a kite out and the Nortenos retaliated. But after that, there wasn't too many Nortenos that came back up. They didn't have any more Nortenos in Lompoc until, you know, a few months later they had one. But when he came, he rode under the Serrenos, and Topo from Florence had the yard for the Serrenos at the time. He was a black hand, big homie, and he had told the Bices and the Border Brothers that you know, the Norteño that came on the yard was with them, and he was off limits, and they respected it. I mean, they didn't really have no choice because, you know, the Serrenos, when you get on a California yard, the Serrenos pretty much outnumber everybody as far as gangs. There's more Bices than the Serrenos, but the difference is all the Serrenos are gangbangers and gangsters, where the Bices are just a collective of different people from across the border. Now in Atwater, at that time, they had Norteños and Serrenos, but the yard was split. But there was other yards throughout the penitentiary where Norteños and Serrenos were able to walk on the same yard. But in 2006, in Florence, I guess gangland came on. They had Norteños and Serrenos on the yard, and they were able to coexist. They don't like each other, you know, but if a big homie tells them that somebody can walk, then somebody can walk. Because when it comes to the Serreno gang, you know, they're run by the Black Hand. That's the big homie, and their words are law. Because you have all these different Serreno gangs out here, Southside gangs out here, that beef with each other, that kill each other on the street. But when they go into the penitentiary, if they hit a yard where there's a big homie on there, and he tells them they can't beef, they tell them to squash it or whatever, that's what it is. It's law. I've never ran into any other organization where their big homie had that time of power. And these guys have that. But in 2006, I guess the episode on Gangland came on, and they had shown, you know, the NF, the Nostra Familia. And the Serrenos recognized one of the faces. Now, there's a difference between Norteños and Nostra Familia. The Nostra Familia is the big homie. Them and the Black Hand, they have an ongoing beef. But the Norteños and the Serrenos are like their foot soldiers. So yeah, maybe the Norteños and Serrenos can walk the line together, but the Black Hand and the NF will never walk the line together. Not in the feds. You know, in 2021, before I left Florence, they had a big indictment in Stockton where they indicted almost 50 NF and Norteños. And at this time, I'm not going to go into that politics because there's a lot of things that's going on that, you know, out of respect for the people I know in the system, I'm not going to speak on their politics concerning this indictment. I'm just going to relay you to a story that happened in Florence around 2019 with some of the homies that come out of Utah. I've been gone 25 years, 24 years, right? When I first lived out here in Utah, before I left, there wasn't too many Norteño gangs. But when I came home, I guess they converted a lot of these gangs up north, Diamond Street, 2-1, and some other gangs that, homegrown gangs out here in Utah, they all right under the Norteño umbrella now. And same thing with the Sureños. There's some gangs out here that beef with the Sureños. But when they go up to the feds, they have, they either run with the Paisa or they run the Sureños. There are a lot of few of these different gangs that didn't get along with the Sureños out here on the street are riding under the Sureño umbrella. I don't want to go into which particular gangs these are because, I'm not trying to judge them on how they're doing their time or anything like that because I've been in the penitentiary and I know, for one, for Mexican gangs, for Mexican people, period, they have it rough. If they're not part of this prison gangs that is already established in there, it can be a long bid. And, we're a creature of survival. Maybe I don't agree with you signing up with somebody out of convenience, out of safety, but that's me, and I'm not going to speak on what another man does, right? But on this particular story, I'm going to talk about the Ogden Trece. Now, us out here in Utah, we're unique. I don't want to say we're different because our environment here, we're not really on that racist time because we have Mexicans, Polys, Asians, we all function, we're all friends, and we all grew up together. But, as we grow older and participate, in the gangs and stuff, beefs come along and whatever. But being in the feds, for me personally, like when I hear a homie that come out of Utah, I kind of look out for them. Like when I was in Beaumont and that SAC dude hit the yard and they informed me that, hey, he's looking for you and he's from SAC. Yeah, he's a white boy. Probably, I never ran into him. I never saw him, but he probably has a swastika on him. He probably has lightning bolts on him. But he's from the 801. And I know the politics over there that the white boys weren't trying to let him walk the yard. So even though I'm not going to insert myself fully in his beef, I'm going to give the homie an opportunity to defend himself. So when they told me that they had a SAC dude on the compound, a dude from Ogden, Smooth, he's half Puerto Rican, half black. He's from Utah. He's like, hey man, there's a dude from SAC over here. And me and him both know what's going to happen to him. So when he told me, I went and got a knife to give to him. But I never got a chance. And I relate this story, in my prior videos. Where he ended up getting jumped on, going to the shoe, and ended up killing somebody in the shoe. And he's down in death row in Texas now. Well, a lot of these Ogden Treces out here from Ogden has been getting indicted through whatever in the last few years. And some of them are hitting the California yards. When I say California yard, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're in California. When I say California yard, it means that it's Sureños and Paisa. When I say it's Texas yard, just like I was just in Florence, we consider that a Texas yard because all the gangs on that yard is from Texas. The ABT, the Texas Aryan Brothers, the Texas MA, Minnesota, the TS, and they might have some Tongo blasts and blasts or whatever, but it's all the gangs. The majority gangs that run the prison is Texas. That's why I say you either go to a Texas yard or a California yard. Well, a lot of these ogden Treces that go to hit the California yards, they've been riding under the Sureños. You know, they have the big 13 tattooed on them for Mexicans. So naturally, they're gonna go with the Sureños instead of the Paisas. But they got a homie out here from Ogden named Toker. He's from Ogden Trece. He got sent to Beaumont. But you know, with Toker, he already moved on with his life. He wasn't trying to gangbang no more. He was just trying to do his time and come back home. But like I said, for Mexicans, especially if you got tattoos that you're affiliated with some type of gang or whatever, whether you feel it's fucked up or not, or whatever, it's just the politics. They didn't allow him to just be an independent, to not be affiliated. And the Sureños pushed up on him and told him that he had to, you know what I mean, either sign up or get rolled up. And he refused to sign up with the Sureños because he already moved on with his life. So he ended up getting jumped on in Beaumont. I don't know the incident that happened there because I wasn't there. Where I met him was after Beaumont, he got transferred to Florence. Now I'm in my unit, just kicking it, and a couple of Norteños that I knew that was in my block came and pulled me up. They're like, "Hey, Mesa, can we talk to you about something?" I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "Hey, we just want to know about this dude. There's a dude that came on the line. He's from Ogden Trece." He goes, what is Ogden Trece? Because, you know, he has a big-ass 13 tattooed on his face. And the Sureños, you know, that's their number. You know, the MAs, that's their number, 13 for the M in the alphabet. And the Norteños, they use the number 14 for the N in the alphabet to represent their hood and their gang. So when they see the dude got 13 on his face, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because, you know, from their perspective, it's about security, it's about safety. They don't want somebody sitting under them, even though he's saying he don't gangbang or anything like that. But they don't know, they can't know his heart, they can't know his mind. And they don't want to sit there and be wrong about this dude that, you know, let's say they accept that he's moved on with his life, that he's not gangbanging no more or whatever. But what if he's not? What if he's sitting here prime and then catch one of them slipping? So for their reason, it's about security. So when they come and ask me about, you know, these Ogden Trece, I told them what I know. I said, as far as I know, they don't get along with the Sureños. Like, we're homegrown out here in Utah. You know, people like to say there's a lot of gangs out here that are made up. Well, every freaking gang across the nation is made up. You want, you know, in the beginning, the creation of the world, they didn't create gang, they created Adam and Eve. So anything after that is made up. But these people that made up these gangs, they've been living that life, been putting that work, and been earning whatever they got coming. You know, because a lot of people out of California, out in Texas, these already established gangs that's been around for however many years, they don't really want to recognize anybody else from out of state, you know, and that goes across the board. Whereas Bloods and Crips, whereas GDs, Vice Lords that are out of Chicago, you know, the ones that, the originators, they have branches all over the country, but they feel like these guys aren't real because they didn't descend from them. Because you got homies out here that claim Blood and Crip, and they out here putting their work. They're out here catching bodies, they out here hustling, they out here doing whatever they do according to the things they bought in. But when they go to the feds, these dudes from California, these dudes from Texas, don't really want to acknowledge them and recognize them unless they insist on it. You know, through the course of my bid, I met homies that are Asian, that are from New York, from California, that are from Watching, from Flying Dragon, from Green Dragon, and these guys feel that they're, you know, they are in a sense as far as different levels of gang. You got your street gangs, you got your kiddie gang, you know, when you were running around when you were in high school or whatever. And then you got your street gang, and you got your organized crime. So it's a different echelon in everything. And some of these dudes, when I came in, that were in the upper echelon of organizations, they try to disregard me. I'm just a kid from Utah. But at the end of the day, no one ever told me how to do my time. And anybody that tried to, you know, had a rude awakening real quick. And when I was in Atwater, at a period of time in Atwater, I had the yard for the homies. And they had Green Dragon members, Watching members, Flying Dragon members. Because at the end of the day, homie, it's just about being a man. And the people, my people, the Asian Islander, recognize that I'm a man. But that I'm on the front line, and that I'm gonna, at the end of the day, I'm gonna look out for the best interests of my people. And I've proven that through the course of my bid, how I conduct myself. And from that, they gave me the respect and the love. And I appreciate that. You know, because I'm not someone that try to claim to be anything. I'm just doing my bid, but at the same time, I'm not going for anything. And if I see something that's foul, something that's wrong, and how somebody's trying to carry somebody just because, I'm going to speak up on it. And when I speak up on it, I'm going to stand on it. Because I don't open my mouth unless I'm willing to go where it takes. You know? So back to the homie from Ogden Trece, a lot of his homies been in the feds that got on count with the Sureños. But like he refused when he was in Beaumont, so they jumped on him or whatever, and they shipped him over to Florence. The Norteños came and asked me about him. And I just told them what I know. Really, because what they're assuming that he's a Sureño, or that he rides with Sureño, from my perspective, is inaccurate. And I didn't want the homies getting chopped up because these guys are uncomfortable with him being there. You know? So I spoke my piece and I told him, but at the same time, this is a Mexican issue. This is between these two gangs. I really don't have no right to intervene. But being the homie from Utah, I got love for the homies from Utah. You know, this is where I live. This is where my family live. This is what I rep everywhere I went. It's the 801. So when they called Chow, you know, when the Norteños brought the issue to me, it was in the morning because he had hit the line the night before around 6 o'clock. He had came on the yard. So in the morning, the ones in my block, after they came back from the yard, they hit me up about dude. So at lunchtime, I'm looking for him. And my objective is not to intervene in the conversation or the situation, but to give it the homies a heads up. I don't know him for nothing. I don't know Toker, never met with him. Don't know nothing about him. Don't know his case. Don't know his people. You know, they live in Ogden. That's about 45 minutes up north from where I live. I've only been there like twice, you know, when I was out in the street. So I see him in the chow hall, and I didn't have to know what he looked like because he was a new face, and he had 13 on his face. So I was like, "Hey, you Toker?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up?" I said, "Hey, homie, the Norteño's been asking about you." And he was like, "Oh, I ain't trying to hear that shit. I'm not with that bullshit no more. I don't gangbang no more, and this and that." And you know, like for me, I got kind of offended. You know, I'm like, do you understand that I'm risking my life here to fucking give you a heads up that somebody's been asking about you? I don't even know who the fuck you is, but you the homie from Utah. So I'm extending that love to you. And when I try to put you on game, you want to disregard me. So I backed off, never said another word to him. The thing is, people don't understand is, even though you moved on with the bullshit, even though you don't want to gang bang no more, the other people are still gang banging. The other people are still with the bullshit, and they don't really give a fuck what kind of time you want. Especially if they feel that your presence might be a security risk to them. So I said, all right, I'm out. Because, you know, at the end of the day, let's say I go over there and I tell Toker from Ogden Trece, hey, homie, the Norteños been asking about you. And he takes it where, like, he feels like the Norteños going to make a move on him, and he goes and punishes one of them. Well, if word gets back that I had said something to him about the Norteños asking about him, I'm going to get butchered. Because they're going to look at me like, oh, you put us at risk by giving this dude a heads up, and now I'm going to get butchered. So, but if I believe that a homie don't gangbang no more, because I believed him when he said he didn't gangbang no more, because he refused to get on count with the Sureños. So that in itself tells me that he's not going to be on no bullshit. So I took it upon myself willingly to give the homies a heads up, putting my life at risk. So when he disregarded me, I was like, all right, fuck it. I didn't have no reason to intervene anymore. Because if he would have said, hey, what's up, man, what's going on? And he would have and I would have told him, hey, the Norte's asking about you because, you know, you got that Trece on your face, and they're not trying to have you sit here and feel insecure. And he could have told me, hey, I don't gangbang no more. I'm not with the politics no more. And got to the point where if I had to, I'm not saying I would have, but I would have intervened as far as like vouch for him, because I became some good friends with some of the Nostra Familia members that was in Florence, and they know who I am. I've been independent in the system just as long as they've been. I've put in more work than some of them. So I had respect. I respected them. I had respect, and I functioned with them to a certain degree. Like, they already stamped me with their homies. Like, hey, this is the homie. This is cool. He's good people. Because I've done business and everything with them through the course of my bid while I was there. And on my part, I've always kept it 100, and they respected that. So I'm not, you know, their homie or anything like that, but I'm somebody that had a rapport with them. So I'm not saying it could have worked out or anything like that, but at the very least, I would have been able to sit down and speak to one of their homies, the big homies that had the yard, and try to get an understanding and figure something out. But when Toker disregarded me, I left it alone. This is at lunchtime. So lunch is over. I come back to the unit, and at 12:30, 1 o'clock, they call rec move. And everybody goes out, they all go out to rec. You know, I'm in the block, I had things to do, I get on the phone or doing whatever I'm doing. But, you know, in my block, we had a few other homies that were from Utah. And I don't know if they gangbang on the street or not, but while they were in Florence, they ran Solano. They were Mexicans, they ran Solano, and another one ran Christian. You know, because like on a Texas yard, if you're not running TS, Texas MA, or Norteño, you're what they consider a Solano. They allow you to stay on the yard, but you don't speak on any politics, period. You don't got no access to no TV, no tables, other than the ones that designate for you. But we had a couple of homies that were over there from Utah. One of them was from Ogden. So they had told Toker, hey, when you come through, come to the block and get a care package. So at 2:30, they called a yard move. And they're coming back from the yard, Toker comes into my block to grab a care package from one of the homies. I see him come in and grab the care package, and I see him go back out. Well, like 2 minutes later, the deuces go off, and you can see the CO is running. And I'm like, where are they running to? I look out the window, they're all running towards my building. I'm like, oh. And me, I already know what it is, So when the deuces go off, I got my MP3 player on a charger. And the charger is on the computer. But when you go to the charger, you can look to my right and you can see the door coming into the unit. So when I walked over there to pick up my charger, I seen a dude on his knees. Blood covered his whole face, his whole shirt. He was on his knees and then he collapsed. Again, I couldn't see his face, but I already knew who it was. And I grabbed my MP3 player and went and locked down. So what had happened was when he came into the block to grab the care package, on his way out, he got caught in between the sally port. Because you have a sally port where the door can only open, from the tower. When somebody hit the tower and the door slides open. Then there's like a sally port in there where the CO comes and unlocks the door to the unit. So when he came out of the unit, in that section between the door to the unit and the door to the yard, 2 Norteños ran up on him and just started butchering him. And like I said, I didn't see it because I'm in the unit kicking it, but it's right there in front of my unit. But from other people that were able to witness it, they said the 2 Norteños, I know the 2 Norteños that hit him, but I'm not gonna speak on their name at this time. They had knives like the length of my arm, and they were chopping him up. I think they hit him, like 20-something times, right? Whatever, deuces come up, they take him out, they put old boy on a stretcher and rolled him out. Now fast forward to about a year later, I end up going to the SHU. So when I go into the SHU, they put me in the holding tank to get dressed out. And the orderly happened to be Toker. He was the orderly. So he came up to the window and said, "Hey, what's up, Mesa?" I said, "What's up, homie?" I said, "Man, you all right?" And he just like shook his head. He's like, "Man, I should have listened to you." Toker's a big guy. He's got a big belly, right? So he goes, "Man," I said, "What happened, man?" He goes, "Man, they fucked me up." He goes, "Look." So he grabbed his stomach and he moved his stomach around like this. And he's like, everything in his stomach is all plastic to keep him alive. Like when they were stabbing him, they butchered into all his organs and his tubes and everything. He's like, "Man, look, this ain't even me." And he hold his stomach to make an impression of whatever device they have in there to keep him alive. Like his whole stomach is all tubed up now. But then at the end of the day, he kind of told me that the Corny, one of the founders of the Nostra Familia, he was in the SHU at that time, can't verify this or anything like that, but he had told me that the old man had wrote him a kite saying that, he apologized, that he made a mistake because because for them, it's about security. They know they have a mortal enemy out there and they don't want nobody sitting up under them, sitting up around them that might plot on them. And that's the things that a lot of homies don't understand. Not just here from Utah, but from across the country. In the United States Penitentiary, there's an ongoing war with different gangs. And when I say war, that's what I mean. Like, they're not fist fighting. It's not like when we were in high school or junior high or anything like that. These people are trying to kill each other. And these people are killing each other. So if you're going up to the feds, man, understand that what yard you're going to, and that there's beef that is ongoing, that if you have the wrong tattoo and you hit the wrong yard, homie, they're not going to allow you to stay. So if I were you, I just take off on one of them and get mines in. Because if not, you're going to get butchered. Worst case scenario, you're going to not be alive no more. And, you know, again, like for me, just because you don't gangbang no more, just because you moved on with your life and you're no longer with the bullshit, doesn't mean everybody's going to respect that. Because they're still on that bullshit, they're still gangbanging, and they're still at war. Welcome to the USP.